Admiral Helena Drake stood at the viewport of the ECS Vigilant, watching the gleaming spires of New Eden Colony pierce the purple atmosphere of Kepler 186f. Humanity's first deep space settlement represented everything they'd achieved in the past decade: faster-than-light travel, terraforming technology, and the unity that came from reaching for the stars together. Admiral, we're detecting unusual energy signatures at the system's edge, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, his dark eyes fixed on the holographic display. They don't match any known patterns. Helena's jaw tightened. After 20 years in the Earth Coalition Space Force, she'd learned to trust her instincts. Something felt wrong. Launch reconnaissance drones, full spectrum analysis. The drones never made it halfway to their destination. Space itself seemed to tear open as massive ships emerged from what looked like tears in reality. Their hulls were organic, almost alive, covered in patterns that hurt the eyes to look at directly. Multiple contacts, Rodriguez shouted. Reading weapons charging, they're not responding to hails. Helena's mind raced even as her voice remained steady. Sound General Quarters. Get me a channel to New Eden and Earth Command. Deploy the fleet in defensive formation Delta. But the aliens, the Nexarians, as humanity would later learn to call them, didn't pause for diplomacy. Their weapons were unlike anything Earth scientists had theorized possible. Beams of twisted spacetime carved through coalition ships like they were made of paper. Missiles that seemed to ignore the laws of physics curved around defensive fire to strike their targets. The battle for New Eden lasted 6 hours. Helena watched in horror as her fleet was systematically dismantled, unable to even scratch the alien vessels' hulls. The colony's defensive systems held out for another 2 hours after that, but the outcome was never in doubt. "Ma'am," Rodriguez's voice cracked. "New Eden's shields are failing. They're targeting the main habitat dome." Helena's fingers dug into the command chair's armrests. "Get me a line to the colony governor." Governor Wei's hologram appeared, her face ash-gray but composed. "Save your breath, Admiral. We both know there's nothing you can do now." "We can evacuate." "No time, but we can make sure Earth knows what's coming." Wei's image flickered as another bombardment rocked the colony. "We've been gathering data since they appeared. Everything we've learned about their weapons, their tactics. I'm transmitting it now, along with the colony's research database. Don't let this be for nothing, Helena." The transmission cut off as the habitat dome cracked. Helena watched, helpless, as the atmosphere vented into space, taking with it the lives of 50,000 colonists. She thought she glimpsed movement in one of the alien ship's viewports, something watching, studying their destruction with clinical detachment. "Plot a course back to Earth," she ordered, her voice hoarse. "Maximum speed, and get me command on quantum comms. They need to know this wasn't a random attack. The Nexarians knew exactly where to find us. They've been watching, waiting, and now they've decided humanity needs to be put back in its place." As the Vigilant limped back toward Earth, Helena reviewed the data from New Eden. The Nexarians' technology was centuries ahead of humanity's, but they'd made one crucial mistake. They'd assumed superior technology meant certain victory. They hadn't counted on human tenacity, on humanity's ability to adapt and overcome. "Send this to all surviving ships," she commanded. "From now on, we're on war footing, no more playing by the rules of civilized warfare. If they want to exterminate us, they'll learn why humans were apex predators on Earth. We don't go quietly, we don't surrender, and we never ever forget our dead." The journey back to Earth took 3 days. 3 days of watching the crew work through their grief, of seeing determination replace fear in their eyes. 3 days of planning, of analyzing every scrap of data about their enemy's capabilities. The Nexarians had made their intentions clear at New Eden. Now humanity would show them exactly what they'd awakened. As Earth appeared on their view screens, Helena addressed the crew one final time. "What happened at New Eden was just the beginning. The enemy thinks they know what humans are capable of. They think they've seen our limits. They're wrong. We're going to show them that humanity doesn't break under pressure. We evolve. We adapt. We overcome. And when this war is over, the Nexarians will understand why every species should fear the day they decide to make humanity their enemy." The crew's response was a roar of determination that seemed to shake the very bulkheads. Helena allowed herself a grim smile. The Nexarians had wanted to teach humanity a lesson about its place in the galaxy. Instead, they were about to learn one themselves, never corner a species that had clawed its way to the top of a death world's food chain through sheer stubborn refusal to die. Commander Marcus Vale watched Earth's orbital defense platforms shatter like glass under Nexarian fire. 6 months after the fall of New Eden, humanity had learned much about their enemy, but each lesson was paid for in blood. The massive viewscreen of Luna Command showed feeds from across the solar system. Earth's combined fleet engaging Nexarian warships, civilian ships evacuating to underground shelters on Mars, and the burning wreckage of what had once been humanity's proudest achievements in space. "Status report on Project Phoenix," he demanded, eyes fixed on a particularly brutal exchange between 3 human destroyers and a single Nexarian vessel. Dr. Olivia Nash, head of Earth's Adaptation Research Division, stepped forward. Her dark skin was ashen from weeks without proper sleep, but her voice remained steady. "The biological enhancement procedures are ready. The volunteers are prepped." Marcus nodded grimly. When conventional weapons proved useless against Nexarian shields, humanity had been forced to think differently. If technology couldn't match them, perhaps enhanced human physiology could find weaknesses their machines missed. "Begin the procedure," he ordered, "and get me Lieutenant Kenzo on comms." The lieutenant's hologram appeared, his features distorted by static from Nexarian interference. "Commander, my team is in position. The salvaged Nexarian ship is secure." This was humanity's greatest gamble yet. After a suicide run by the Australian carrier, Brisbane had actually managed to damage a Nexarian vessel. They'd recovered pieces of the alien ship. The technology was incomprehensible, but they'd discovered something extraordinary. It responded to biological signals. "Proceed with neural interface testing," Marcus commanded. "But Lieutenant, if anything feels wrong, anything at all, pull your people out immediately. We can't afford to lose more good soldiers to untested tech." The next 12 hours were a blur of reports, tactical adjustments, and mounting casualties. But then something changed. Lieutenant Kenzo's team, now partially interfaced with Nexarian technology, began reporting success. They could sense the alien ship's movements before their instruments could detect them. More importantly, they could predict where the reality-warping weapons would strike. "Sir," a junior officer called out, "the Nexarian attack pattern has changed. They're pulling back from Earth's orbit." Marcus leaned forward, studying the tactical display. The enemy ships were indeed retreating, but not in fear. Their movements suggested confusion, as if their perfectly calculated battle plans had encountered an unexpected variable. Dr. Nash burst into the command center, her eyes wild with excitement. "Commander, the enhancement procedures, they worked better than we hoped. The volunteers, they're not just stronger or faster. They're developing abilities we never anticipated. Private Williams just teleported across the lab." Marcus felt a chill run down his spine. The Nexarians had assumed humanity would try to match their technology. Instead, humans were becoming something else entirely. The game was changing. "Get me Admiral Drake," he ordered, "and patch in every command center in the system. They need to hear this." Helena's hologram appeared, her expression hard but hopeful. "Report, Commander Vale." "Admiral, we've found our edge. The Nexarians aren't just technologically advanced, they're biologically integrated with their ships. And now, thanks to their own salvaged tech and our enhancement procedures, so are we. But we're doing it our way, and we're doing it better." He gestured to the tactical display, where Kenzo's enhanced squad was now engaging a Nexarian cruiser with unprecedented success. "They thought they were fighting primitives who would break under pressure. Instead, they've forced us to evolve. Every attack, every defeat, every loss, it's all just been accelerating our adaptation." The command center erupted in activity as reports flooded in from across the system. Enhanced soldiers were showing abilities that defied explanation. Salvaged Nexarian tech, combined with human neural patterns, was yielding results that stunned even its creators. Humanity wasn't just learning to fight back, it was transforming itself into something new. "Send word to all commands," Helena ordered, a fierce pride in her voice. "Operation Chrysalis is now in effect. All military personnel with compatibility markers are to report for enhancement procedures. All salvaged Nexarian tech is to be transferred to adaptation research centers immediately." Marcus watched the tactical display as the Nexarian fleet continued its confused retreat. They had come expecting to find prey, only to discover that humanity was something far more dangerous, a species that thrived on adversity, that grew stronger when faced with extinction. "One more thing, Admiral," he added. "The enhanced soldiers are reporting something interesting. They can sense the Nexarians' thoughts during combat. Our enemies are feeling something they've never experienced before." "And what's that, Commander?" "Fear, Admiral. For the first time in their history, the Nexarians are afraid. They came to exterminate a primitive species, but instead, they've created something that even they don't understand. Humanity isn't just fighting back anymore, we're evolving beyond anything they could have predicted, and they have no idea how to stop it." As if to emphasize his point, the tactical display lit up with new signatures. All across the solar system, enhanced human soldiers were linking with salvaged Nexarian tech, creating hybrid weapons and defenses that followed neither human nor Nexarian rules of warfare. The awakening had begun, and there would be no turning back. Lieutenant Diana Frost floated in the neural interface chamber aboard Jupiter Outpost Theta, her consciousness merged with both human and salvaged Nexarian systems. Through the enhanced sensors, she could feel the approaching enemy fleet like a storm of hostile thoughts pressing against her mind. But something was different this time. "Lieutenant, we're picking up unusual energy signatures," reported Sergeant Thomas Reed from his monitoring station. "The Nexarian fleet. They're moving slower than usual." Diana extended her awareness, letting the hybrid systems analyze the enemy's approach. The sergeant was right. The organic technological ships that had terrorized humanity for months were hesitating, their movements lacking their usual fluid grace. "They're afraid," she realized, the words echoing both in her mind and through the outpost's comm system. "Not of our weapons, of something else." The outpost's commanding officer, Colonel Victor Reyes, appeared on her neural display. "Explain, Lieutenant." "Ever since the enhancement programs began, we've been studying their tech, their biology, but we've been looking at it wrong." Diana's consciousness dove deeper into the hybrid systems, following patterns she'd never noticed before. "They're not just bioorganic ships, they're a hive mind, and right now that mind is fractured." As if to confirm her theory, the Nexarian fleet's formation wavered. Their usually perfect coordination showed signs of strain. Diana pushed her enhanced senses to their limit, trying to understand what she was seeing. "Colonel, request permission to try something dangerous." Reyes hesitated only a moment. "After what they did to Earth, Lieutenant, dangerous is exactly what we need. Proceed." Diana took a deep breath and did something no enhanced human had attempted before. Instead of just reading the Nexarian ship's energy signatures, she reached out to them, projecting her consciousness through the salvaged tech that now flowed through her veins. The contact was explosive. Alien thoughts crashed against her mind like waves of burning ice. But beneath the hostility, she sensed something remarkable: confusion, discord, fear. The Nexarians weren't a single unified consciousness. They were millions of individual minds forced into artificial harmony by their bioorganic technology. "They're slaves," she gasped, the revelation sending shockwaves through Theta's neural network. "Their own technology is enslaving them. The ships, the weapons, it's all designed to suppress individuality, to force conformity. And our enhanced soldiers, our hybrid tech, we're disrupting their control systems." Colonel Rey's voice cut through her revelation. "Incoming, multiple Nexarian vessels on attack vector." Diana snapped back to tactical awareness. The enemy fleet had recovered from its hesitation and was launching an all-out assault on the outpost. But now she saw their attacks differently. Each reality-warping beam, each physics-defying missile wasn't just a weapon, it was an expression of collective will enforced by technology. "All enhanced personnel switch to frequency Delta 9, she commanded. Don't fight their ships, fight their unity. Project chaos, discord, individual thought patterns overwhelm their control systems. The battle that followed would later be called the Miracle of Jupiter. Enhanced humans across the outpost broadcasted their thoughts, their emotions, their very individuality through hybrid systems. The Nexarian fleet's perfect formation dissolved into confusion. Ships collided with each other as their crews struggled against centuries of enforced conformity. "It's working," Sergeant Reed shouted. "Their weapons are misfiring, their shields are fluctuating." Diana pushed harder, ignoring the blood trickling from her nose. Through the neural interface, she could feel other enhanced humans joining her assault on the Nexarian hive mind. Each human consciousness was a hammer blow against the chains of control that bound their enemy. "All ships, all stations," Colonel Reyes broadcast across the system. "This is Jupiter Outpost Theta. We've found their weakness. Transmitting data now. The Nexarians aren't invincible, they're prisoners of their own technology, and we just showed them what freedom looks like." The enemy fleet retreated in disarray, leaving behind destroyed and abandoned ships. As medical teams rushed to treat the enhanced personnel suffering from mental strain, Diana remained in the neural interface, monitoring the aftermath. "Lieutenant," Colonel Reyes approached her chamber. "Earth Command is calling this a major victory. They want to know how you discovered their weakness." Diana smiled wearily. "Simple, sir. We stopped trying to beat them at their own game. The Nexarians built their civilization on enforced unity, on the suppression of individual will. But humans, we thrive on chaos, on creativity, on the power of individual choice. Our enhancement programs didn't just make us stronger, they made us more human. And that's what terrifies them." As repair crews began salvaging the abandoned Nexarian vessels, Diana felt a new sensation through the neural interface hope. Not just from the human forces, but faint echoes from the retreating enemy fleet. Some of the Nexarians had felt the touch of freedom, of individual thought, for the first time in their species' history. "Sir," she reported, "I don't think this is just about survival anymore. We're not just fighting against extinction, we're fighting for liberation. The Nexarians' own people are starting to question their system. We didn't just win a battle today, we started a revolution." The implications of her discovery spread quickly through Earth's forces. The war was far from over, but the rules had changed. Humanity had found more than just a tactical advantage. They'd discovered a truth that would reshape the galaxy. Sometimes the greatest weapon isn't superior technology or even enhanced biology. Sometimes it's simply the power of free will, the strength of individual human consciousness refusing to be suppressed. Captain James Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance, a hybrid vessel that embodied humanity's newfound strength. Once a standard Earth destroyer, now it bristled with salvaged Nexarian technology, its hull wrapped in living metal that pulsed with bioorganic energy. But unlike the enemy's ships, this vessel celebrated the individuality of its crew rather than suppressing it. "Ghost Fleet, sound off," he commanded, his neural implants connecting him to the consciousness of his crew and ships. One by one, the 12 ships of humanity's first deep strike force reported in. Each vessel was unique, a testament to human creativity. The Phoenix, commanded by Captain Nadia Volkov, had specialized in electronic warfare. The Hyperion, under Commander Jackson Wright, had become a master of stealth operations. Every ship, every crew, had found their own way to merge human ingenuity with Nexarian tech. "Target confirmed," reported Lieutenant Emily Patel, her enhanced mind interfacing directly with their sensors. "Nexarian supply depot, just as our intelligence suggested. Security is heavy, but they haven't adapted their systems to counter our new capabilities." James allowed himself a grim smile. "They still think in terms of rigid formations and perfect unity. Let's show them why that's a mistake. Execute Operation Wildfire." The Ghost Fleet moved like a pack of wolves, each ship acting independently yet part of a greater whole. The Defiance led the charge, its hybrid weapons tearing holes in reality itself. But unlike the Nexarian weapons that sought to impose order, these chaos-touched beams celebrated entropy, their very nature an affront to the enemy's rigid worldview. "Multiple contacts," Emily announced. "Nexarian response fleet incoming, there." They're not moving in formation. Some of their ships appear to be breaking ranks. James nodded, understanding what they were seeing. Lieutenant Frost's discovery was right. Our presence, our individualistic thought patterns, they're disrupting their control systems. Push harder. Broadcast our freedom on all frequencies. The battle that followed was unlike anything in human military history. The Ghost Fleet didn't just fight with weapons, they fought with ideas. Each ship projected the unique consciousness of its crew, a symphony of individual thoughts that created discord in the enemy's hive mind. "Sir," Emily's voice was excited, "I'm detecting unusual signals from 3 of the Nexarian ships. They're trying to break free from their command protocols." This was what they'd hoped for but hadn't dared expect. After centuries of enforced unity, some Nexarians were awakening to the possibility of individual thought. The very presence of human-enhanced consciousness was acting as a catalyst, breaking chains that had bound their species for generations. "All ships concentrate fire on the Loyalist vessels," James ordered. "Give the rebels a chance to break free, show them what freedom looks like." The Ghost Fleet danced through space, each ship moving with its own style, its own purpose. The Hyperion slipped through enemy formations like a ghost, its stealth systems enhanced by the crew's collective will to remain unseen. The Phoenix unleashed waves of electronic warfare that spoke directly to the organic components of enemy ships, whispering promises of liberation. On the main viewer, James watched as 3 Nexarian ships turned on their former allies. Their movements were erratic at first, like beings learning to walk after a lifetime of crawling. But there was a beauty in their imperfection, a triumph in their newfound individuality. "Captain," Emily reported, "the depot's defenses are collapsing, but I'm detecting something else." Data streams. Massive amounts of information being broadcast from the rebel ships. "Intelligence?" James asked, even as his neural implants began processing the incoming data. "More than that, sir. It's their history, their culture, the truth about how their society became what it is, the rebels. They're not just fighting alongside us. They're trying to wake up their entire species." The battle ended not with the destruction of the depot, but with something far more valuable: defection. 5 Nexarian ships, their crews awakening to individual consciousness, joined the Ghost Fleet's retreat. Behind them, the supply depot burned, but the real damage was spreading through Nexarian space at the speed of thought. "Send word to Earth Command," James ordered as they plotted their course home. Operation Wildfire was a success, but not in the way we expected. We didn't just destroy a military target. We proved that liberation is possible. The Nexarians aren't our real enemy, their system of control is. And now that system is beginning to crack. As the Ghost Fleet traveled through the void, their Nexarian allies shared more of their story. Their civilization had achieved technological marvels, but at the cost of individual thought and creativity. The bioorganic technology that made their ships so powerful had also enslaved them, forcing them into a hive mind that suppressed any spark of individuality. "They feared us," James realized, speaking to his crew and their new allies, "not because we were primitive, but because we represented everything their system had tried to eliminate. Chaos, creativity, the power of individual choice. By trying to destroy us, they exposed their own people to these ideas, and now there's no stopping the revolution." The Defiance's hybrid systems hummed with new energy as former enemies learned to think for themselves, to embrace the beautiful chaos of individual existence. This wasn't just a military victory. It was the beginning of a transformation that would reshape the galaxy. Humanity hadn't just survived extinction. They had become the catalyst for an awakening that would echo through the cosmos for generations to come. Admiral Helena Drake stood at the command center of the ECS Vigilant, now transformed into a hybrid vessel that represented the pinnacle of human Nexarian technology. Through her neural interface, she could feel the presence of the massive fleet surrounding her ship Earth vessels, rebel Nexarian ships, and hybrid craft that defied traditional classification. Before them lay Nexus Prime, the homeworld of their former enemies. Its orbital rings pulsed with bioorganic energy, a testament to the civilization that had once thought itself the galaxy's supreme power. But now those rings were divided, as civil war tore through Nexarian society. "Status report," Helena commanded, her enhanced consciousness spreading through the fleet's network. "Rebel Nexarian forces have engaged the Loyalist fleet in the outer system," reported Commander Vale from his position aboard the transformed Brisbane. "Their liberation signals are spreading faster than the control systems can suppress them. Nearly 40% of their military has already broken free from central control." Helena nodded grimly. The past month had seen a cascade of defections as more Nexarians awakened to individual consciousness. But the hardliners controlling their homeworld had responded with brutal efficiency, attempting to purge their entire species of the human contagion of free will. "All ships prepare for final approach," she broadcast. "This ends today, not with extinction but with evolution." The combined fleet moved forward, each ship acting with individual purpose while contributing to the greater whole. This wasn't the rigid unity of the Nexarian hive mind, but the voluntary cooperation of free beings choosing to work together. Through the neural network, Helena felt Captain Chen's ghost fleet moving into position, their hybrid ships sliding through reality's cracks. Lieutenant Frost's liberation technicians were broadcasting on all frequencies, their enhanced minds reaching out to any Nexarian willing to embrace freedom. The enemy responded with overwhelming force. The Loyalist fleet emerged from behind Nexus Prime's moons, their ships moving with the perfect coordination that had once made them seemingly invincible. Reality-warping weapons lashed out, attempting to impose order on chaos. But humanity had learned. Each attack was met with calculated disorder, ships moving in patterns that celebrated unpredictability. Enhanced human minds joined with freed Nexarian consciousness, creating battle strategies that evolved faster than the enemy's control systems could adapt. "Admiral," Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice cut through the tactical network, "we're detecting massive energy readings from the surface. They're activating something, some kind of planetary defense system." Helena's enhanced senses reeled as she felt the power building below. The Loyalists were preparing to use their homeworld itself as a weapon, willing to risk their entire civilization rather than accept change. "All ships full assault," she commanded. "We have to reach the surface before." The universe seemed to hold its breath as Nexus Prime's defense system activated. A wave of pure order emanated from the planet, a manifestation of the control that had bound the Nexarian species for so long. Ships caught in its path began to freeze, their crews forced into rigid conformity. But then something unexpected happened. As the wave reached the human fleet, it met a wall of chaos, creativity, and free will. Enhanced human minds joined with freed Nexarian consciousness, not fighting the wave but transforming it. "Push back," Helena broadcast, her own consciousness joining the effort. "Show them what real unity looks like, not forced conformity but freely chosen cooperation." The battle that followed transcended physical combat. It was a war of ideas, of competing visions for the future. The Loyalists' wave of control met humanity's tsunami of freedom, and in their collision, something new was born. Through the neural network, Helena felt the moment the planetary defense system failed. Not through destruction, but through transformation. The very technology meant to enforce order had become a conduit for liberation. "This is Admiral Helena Drake to all Nexarian forces," she broadcast, her message carrying the weight of truth that could no longer be denied. "Your control systems are failing. Your people are awakening. You tried to destroy us because we represented everything you feared: chaos, creativity, individual choice. But these aren't weaknesses. They're the source of true strength." Across the system, Nexarian ships were going silent as their crews faced a choice for the first time in generations. The Loyalist fleet's perfect formation dissolved as ship after ship broke free from central control. "We didn't come here for revenge," Helena continued. "We came to offer you something your system tried to eliminate: the freedom to choose your own path. Look at our fleet. Humans, freed Nexarians, working together not because we're forced to, but because we choose to. This is what real civilization looks like." The final hour of the war bore little resemblance to its beginning. Instead of destruction, there was awakening. Instead of conquest, there was collaboration. The control systems that had bound Nexarian society fell not to weapons, but to ideas. As the dust settled, Helena stood in the grand hall of the Nexarian High Council, now transformed into a chamber of free debate. Around her, humans and Nexarians worked together to dismantle the old system, replacing rigid control with frameworks for cooperative decision-making. "We thought we were fighting for survival," she reflected, addressing the assembled representatives of both species. "But we were fighting for something greater, the right of all beings to think, to choose, to evolve. The Nexarians tried to teach us our place in the galaxy. Instead, we taught them that true strength comes not from enforced unity, but from the beautiful chaos of free will." Outside the hall, ships of both species moved in harmony through the system, not in perfect formation, but in patterns that celebrated their differences while working toward common goals. The war was over, but the revolution it had sparked was just beginning, a revolution of consciousness that would ripple through the galaxy for centuries to come. Humanity had not just survived extinction. They had become the catalyst for a transformation that would reshape the very nature of galactic civilization. And in doing so, they had proven that sometimes the greatest victories come not from destroying your enemies, but from showing them a better way to exist.